Joining us now with stories trending around the world is OjyOkpe. Good morning, Genix.
Good morning, Dr. Bati. How are you this morning? Good morning, Ayo. How are you this morning? Good morning, Rufai. How are you this morning? Well, good morning to you, viewers. We're beginning with some breaking news. The FCT Police have arrested 12 suspects in connection with the robbery that led to the tragic deaths of a Rise News anchor, Somtochukwu Christelle Maduagwu, and security guard Barnabas Danlabi at Unique Apartment, Contempt District on September 29th. The Scorpion Squad, led by ACP Victor Godfrey, acting on digital and forensic intelligence provided by Giga Forensics, successfully apprehended the armed robbery gang. During interrogation, one suspect confessed to shooting the security guard when he tried to prevent them from gaining access, while another admitted attempting to hold Sommie as she fell from the 3-story building. 4 suspects were initially apprehended through tracking of stolen phones from the apartment. Each of the arrested suspects received 200,000 naira from the crime proceeds. Police recovered exhibits including one fabricated AK-47 rifle, 36 rounds of 9mm ammunition, one locally made pistol, one pump-action gun, 2 live cartridges, 4 mobile phones belonging to the victims, 2 sharp knives, 1 cutlass, and 9 touches during the operation.
We have recovered one constructed AK around Zumaro, where it was hidden by Sani and some of his gang members, Shamsu and Osho and the rest. Hidden in a deep, thick bush.
See where they hide them. I'll show you now, see where they hide them.
So it's hidden. Yes.
Well, in a dramatic follow-up on October 8th, the remaining gang members were intercepted while en route to another planned armed robbery in Maitama. All suspects have confessed to the crimes. Investigation is ongoing as police search for remaining fleeing members. We thank all the security agencies involved in the rescue operation, including the police and the military. Good news, we are hearing from our security forces timely intervention. We are very thankful to the police that they have intercepted 12 members of this robbery gang. Imagine, 200,000 naira. These are the sort of stories that we hear that shatters our heart. I hope that, the police is still investigating. I hope that these sort of report can give some sort of succor to the family of Somtochukwu and, of course, the security guard that died. We'll continue to follow up on the story. Meanwhile, Nigerians on social media are reacting to a recent World Bank warning that 139 million Nigerians are now living in poverty despite federal government economic reforms boosting revenue. The World Bank's country director, Matthew Verghese, made the disclosure on Wednesday during the launch of the Nigeria Development Update Report in Abuja. While commending the government's bold reforms in exchange rate and fuel subsidy removal, Verghese noted that despite these stabilization gains, many Nigerians are still struggling with eroded purchasing power.
Despite these stabilization gains, many Nigerians are still struggling. Most households are struggling with eroded purchasing power. Poverty, which started to rise in 2019 due to policy missteps and external shocks, including COVID, has continued to increase even after the reforms. In 2025, we estimate that 139 million Nigerians live in poverty. So the challenge is clear: how to translate the gains from the stabilization reforms into better living standards for all Nigerians.
Well, that was the World Bank's country director there. Although he acknowledged that Nigeria's economic growth has picked up, with revenues rising, debt indicators improving, foreign exchange markets stabilizing, reserves rising, and inflation gaining to ease, he warned that persistent high food prices could slow recovery and damage confidence in reforms as food inflation affects everybody, particularly the poor. And of course, this news has garnered a lot of reactions, and I'll take some posts on X. This is from DA, who wrote, "Reforms mean nothing. When people can't eat, you can't fix the economy on paper while citizens starve in reality. Growth without welfare is just numbers masking suffering." Another ex-user, £20, wrote, "Listening and living by World Bank's recommendations is highly risky. They were among those on Nigeria's neck to remove subsidy and float the naira, knowing fully well that the effect will be devastating." Now, they are the same people shouting that Nigeria is sinking. I don't know what that word is, but we'll take another ex-user spot, AIS, who wrote, "Tomorrow, you'll issue another alarm that Nigeria economy has grown to 2,000% under Tinubu. The next 2 months, you will hail that reforms are working and producing results, and APC will use it as a campaign promise. Then you'll still turn back tomorrow and tell us that 200 million people are now in abject poverty. Una own Yahoo too much." And that's what he says. That and these are the sort of stories that we hear, Rufai. At the end of the day, this is what we hear. But you know what? The presidency has disputed the World Bank report of 139 million Nigerians living in poverty, dismissing the figure as unrealistic and detached from the country's economic realities. In a post on X, the president's special advisor on media and public communication, Sunday Dare, stated that the poverty figures must be properly contextualized within the limits of global measurements models. Rufai, I'm coming to you on this story. We have seen this report, and the World Bank is saying, no matter your reforms, it is not showing 139 million Nigerians at this point. That statistic is quite alarming. Your thoughts? And I'll walk to you. I'll come to you.
You see, a couple of things.
Yeah.
Government like to deflect when you call them out. Mr. Sunday Dare did not give us his own data, but he was trying to dismiss a World Bank data that in the same breath, they praised the World Bank data when the World Bank data said, oh, the growth projection has increased. So it just shows they don't like to hear the truth. And we keep telling them that reforms, why when it comes to reforms, be careful. Exactly what is happening in Argentina. I remember when they were celebrating Milei in Argentina and saying things are well. But at the same time, there were protests and strikes because the life of people were a whole lot worse off in Argentina. There was austerity and the likes. Exactly what is happening in Nigeria today. The same people that are making the argument today, when I tell them that the naira, this is not the true value of naira, that the naira is still undervalued. The same people were those complaining and saying that, oh, when we devalue, we'll be able to find the value of the naira. But it went over 1,005, it went over about 1,009, now it's back to about 1,004 before. At some point, let's not forget that when they defended the naira to about 1,002 briefly, before it jacked up again to about 1,005.
Right.
Now the next thing, they are changing their words and saying that it's stability that matter, not the true value. But before, these were the same people, when the naira was 400, that they said, oh, the naira needs to find the true value that is overvalued. Today, when we are still saying that it's still not the real value, the next thing they are saying stability at the expense of the lives of people. Mr. Sunday Dare forgets that it is basic economics. If you devalue a currency, you devalue the lives of people, you will increase the level of poverty. People that used to live on less than $2 per day, $2 per day at the rate of 400 was about 800 naira. Today, $2 per day at the rate of 1,000, maybe 470 is over 2,000 naira going to 3,000 naira. So you have devalued the lives of people. You have not increased productivity. You have not increased economic fidelity. What you have done is you have stressed people even more, and you have collected more revenue. You are draining out revenue for an economy that has productivity challenges at the same time, and you think you're doing good. So when the World Bank tells you that you have a lot of people that have no disposable income, you think it's a joke. No, a lot of people don't actually have disposable income in this country. They only eat once a day. They can't eat 3 times a day any longer. And these are the things the government should work on. Not people like Mr. Sunday Dare coming back and saying, no, you don't know what you're saying World Bank, but you can't give us your data. I dare the government, give us your own data if you say World Bank is not correct.
All right. I mean, these are the issues, and I think that you spoke very well at this point. Well, we'll take another story now. The terrorism trial of the leader of the indigenous peoples of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, on Wednesday was adjourned to October 16 following the Nigerian Medical Association's failure to submit its health assessment report. The Federal High Court in Abuja postponed Wednesday's proceedings after the Medical Association panel requested more time to finalize its findings. The court had previously ordered the president of the Medical Association to constitute a board of medical experts to investigate Nnamdi Kanu's alleged deteriorating health and determine whether DSS medical facilities are adequate for his care or if he should be moved to the National Hospital. The medical report is also expected to determine whether Nnamdi Kanu is fit to stand trial. Meanwhile, Abia State Representative OjyOkpe, the House Speaker Tajuddin Abbas, engaged in a heated 7-minute confrontation during Tuesday's plenary over Nnamdi Kanu's deteriorating health condition. Okpe had raised the point of privilege, stating that a letter he submitted on August 26 to the House Speaker, the Attorney General of the Federation, Lateef Fagbemi, and President Bola Ahmed Tinubu regarding Nnamdi Kanu's worsening health has yet to receive any response, he declared. Nnamdi Kanu is on the verge of death. Let's take a look.
You don't shut me down. You also have the right. It is important, Mr. Speaker, that this House takes cognizance
is compromised
of the issue of Nnamdi Kanu.
That you can bring it up, and I thought that particular position is talking in respect of instances where the issues is beyond your control. But this is not what a letter from you to from yourself to me.
Yes, sir. The
when
letter
you
is
have,
here.
as a member,
Mr. Speaker,
direct access to come to my office and seek for explanation.
Mr. Speaker,
why?
I've been to your office.
Have to go through this?
I've been to your office to seek the Speaker.
Please.
Excuse me, sir. Can you read the order book, Rule 6 and subsection 2?
Oh, that was quite chaotic. The Speaker had questioned Okpe's use of point of privilege to demand action, but Okpe had insisted that it was a matter of life and death and that House rules entitled him to raise matters of privilege. The Speaker ruled him out of order, insisting that, the floor was not the right place for such follow-up. Well, the House of Representatives now scheduled to debate the motion concerning the urgent medical intervention for Nnamdi Kanu this week, following the point of order raised by OjyOkpe seeking urgent action on the matter. Well, Deputy Speaker Benjamin Kalu intervened, assuring that the matter would be properly presented and heard by the House. Nnamdi Kanu has been in DSS custody since being extradited from Kenya in June 2021 and faces terrorism charges. Courts have repeatedly declined requests to allow him leave custody for medical treatment, despite growing calls for his release from Southeast stakeholders. Meanwhile, activist Omoyele Sowore has challenged Labour Party leader Peter Obi, Anambra State Governor Professor Charles Chukwuma Soludo, Governor Alex Oti, and other Southeast leaders to march to Aso Rock for the release of Nnamdi Kanu. In a post on Tuesday, Sowore said he will set aside his differences with some politicians for one cause, Nnamdi Kanu's release. He declared, "I challenge every politician or person of good conscience from the Southeast who says they want Nnamdi Kanu released to stop the rhetoric. The time for action is now." Sowore vowed to personally lead a peaceful march to the presidential villa, calling on every Southeast leader and concerned Nigerians to join. Sowore has been quite vocal right now for the Nnamdi Kanu release, obviously because of the lawyers and Nnamdi Kanu's deteriorating health, as it were. You know, they've been campaigning for him to be treated at the National Hospital or even taken out of the country. I mean, he remains innocent until proven guilty at this point. Dr. Abati.
Every accused person is innocent until proven guilty. And that's why they deserve fair hearing under Section 36 of the 1999 Constitution. But what are the issues? I'll try to run through them very quickly. Now, Honorable Obi Agocha was saying that Nnamdi Kanu is his constituent, and he has a right to raise an issue to defend the interests of his constituent, quoting Order 6, Rule 2. But the disagreement with the Honorable Speaker, Tajuddin Abbas, was about procedure. But it's just as well that Honorable Benjamin Kalu has also intervened, and now the House, will still take a look at that matter, as Abbas insisted that due procedure should be followed. However, the issue has two legs to it. There is a political side that the Nigerian government has been dealing with. People from the East, interested parties like Showore, saying that, look, you have to deal with this issue. It's not just law, stricto sensu. You can find a political situation, and there are leaders from the Southeast who have been saying a political solution is a better option. Now, the Buhari administration did not take that option, saying that the matter was before the courts. Now they are also approaching the Tinubu administration to find a political solution to the matter of Nnamdi Kanu. Whether President Tinubu would take that advice or not remains to be seen. There are persons who have been saying that even with the aggressiveness from ADC and the opposition, maybe to win votes in the Southeast, President Tinubu should just release Nnamdi Kanu, because that may translate into a political game. But it's up to the government of the day to look at that matter. After all, the Attorney General of the Federation has the powers under any case of this nature to enter in nolle prosequi. But that's politics. Now, as for law, the matter was before the Court of Justice James Omotosho. Nnamdi Kanu's lawyers had filed a no-case submission. But Justice James Omotosho decided in the last sitting on the matter that, in fact, there is a prima facie case that has been established by the prosecution that Nnamdi Kanu has to answer. If the no-case submission, appeal had worked, now the case will have been thrown out. But the position in the law court is that, no, there is a matter to be addressed. And Justice Omotosho also ruled that, look, in this particular matter, there are terrorism charges that have been established. And there are three that the defense lawyers could not establish a case of extraordinary rendition, which is, that he was abducted, from Kenya and brought to Nigeria by force. So the court, as at this moment, says there is a case to be answered. Secondly, Justice James Omotosho also said the NMA should form a committee on this matter of health to look at the condition of Nnamdi Kanu. And that matter, the NMA couldn't finish its work within the time frame given. Now the matter has now been adjourned, I think, till October 16. So you have two issues to it: the politics of it, the legal part of it, and there's a third leg that is now being suggested by Omoyele Sowore, that leaders of thought, leaders of conscience in the Southeast, like Peter Obi, like Governor Soludo, should carry placards and go and demonstrate in front of Aso Villa, where the practicability of that remains to be seen, because these are stakeholders in their own right. I don't know whether Mr. Peter Obi will want to carry placards, and whether a governor will go and carry placards and march.
He's going to the he's going to.
Mr. Peter Obi wants to carry placards.
No, I said Omoyele said he's going to go.
He can do it, but
he's inviting all Nigerians with conscience.
The choice is for those leaders from the Southeast. In this country where there is accidental discharge and where policemen are very quick to use tear gas, I don't know who will take that risk. But Omoyele Sowore is an activist.
Yes, and
He's entitled to
everyone
his,
speaking up at this point, it is their right to speak up for what they see as injustice. Obiagwocha has been quite vocal. In fact, he's been nominated by Nnamdi Kanu as the chief negotiator with the federal government at this point. We will continue to follow up on the story. Well, in another development, the Federal High Court in Oshogbo, Osun State, has issued a fresh order directing the Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, to arrest former INEC chairman, Professor Mahmood Yakubu, for contempt of court. The Action Alliance instituted the case challenging INEC and Yakubu over non-compliance with a court judgment ordering the commission to upload Party Chairman Adekunle Omoje's name and other National Executive Committee members on the INEC portal. Meanwhile, the National Secretary of CUPP, Peter Ame, has accused Professor Yakubu of damaging Nigeria's multi-party democracy during his 10-year tenure, saying under Yakubu, the opposition suffered. In the same vein, Yiga Africa's Samson Itodo acknowledged Yakubu introduced remarkable reforms like BVAS and IREV, but noted he left behind a weak INEC due to political interference. And you know, he's not the only one saying this. Yesterday, when we took our milestone story, we actually talked about the fact that that is the legacy that Professor Mahmood Yakubu has left behind, the introduction of these technological advancements, IREV, BVAS. But can we really say
technical glitches?
No, can
you
we
didn't want to add
no,
that?
I mean, he did introduce technical glitches as well, because the last presidential election, that's what I wanted to say, the last presidential election, that was the biggest glitch, I would say, by INEC. INEC dropped the ball during that election in 2023, the election that saw President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in power at this point. Your thoughts on the arrest? The arrest of Professor Mahmood Yakubu, and of course all of these people, what they've said so far.
So when the headline, when it broke yesterday, a number of people were wondering what could it be, what swift justice, just like that. He just tendered his resignation, and already a warrant for his address was out, or the court had ordered the IGP. But when you look closer at the story, you'd see that it was made on the 29th of September, this order, and it was before he tendered his resignation.
Way before,
and it's around a matter that with the Action Alliance AA, where the court had ruled that their members, the Rufai Omwaje-led executive committee, should be listed on the INEC website, which you already talked about, and he didn't do it, he didn't comply.
Yes.
So at the heart of this is the lack of respect for the rule of law, or when courts rule and then you are cherry picking as to which to obey or not, or the timely fashion in which to do that. And so the court held him in contempt of court, the court before Justice Adefunmilayo Demi-Ajayi held him in the Federal High Court in Abuja, in Oshogbo, held him in contempt and said he should also pay 100,000 naira to the plaintiffs. And that's what's happened. So he has not yet been investigated for his actions in INEC, and maybe, that's what warrants the arrest. It was done while he was in office. So it would be now, the onus would now be the responsibility for the new acting chair of INEC, Mrs. Agbamuche Mbu, to do her due diligence by restoring those names according to the court, prescribed court's judgment. Except INEC decides to appeal that judgment, they have a responsibility to do that.
Yeah.
So it speaks larger to what has happened in recent times with judgments by the court, obeying or lack of obeying, a contempt for court proceedings, a lack of respect for the rule of law. And again, Oji, talking about legacy, this might very well be part of his legacy as INEC chair. And I believe that Nigerians are still cooking, are still putting together notes on how to really analyze the tenure.
What do you mean part of his legacy? The arrest?
Not respecting
not respecting court
held in
judgments,
contempt of court.
Yes.
Part of it is that and when you talk about technical glitches, we still don't have a proper report from INEC or an explanation that Nigerians can understand as to what happened during the 2023 elections.
The 2023 presidential elections,
yes.
Specifically.
Even other acts would be also the Edo State Governor governorship elections.
Yes.
Recall what happened in court where the plaintiffs are accused that INEC didn't release the back end early enough to them. So there are many. If you look at a number of the elections that were done by INEC under the tenure of Professor Yakubu, there are lots of criticisms around.
There was.
Despite the Electoral Act that was meant to make the process more transparent, he didn't use that tool to leave a legacy that Nigerians would say he gave free and fair elections.
What was
Conversation.
What was the point of the introduction if you are not going to use it?
Let's look at the legal part of it. Now, a judge in Oshobo has now given an order to say he should be charged for contempt. Now, that contempt, was the order given in personam, or was it given against the institution? If it is given against the institution, then of course he's been rendered academic because he's no longer the chairman of INEC.
So do you know which it is?
He has already, we don't know. We need to know the details.
No, I'll tell you what the report is. Hold on, sorry. The report is that they should arrest Professor Mahmood Yakubu. That's the report.
Okay, in what capacity?
So he was mentioned in the suit.
In what capacity? He's no longer the chairman.
Yes.
The correction that the Action Alliance is looking for, which is that their name should be listed on the website, the chairman, national chairman of the party, and the others. Now, Mahmood Yakubu is no longer in a position to do it. However, Mary Agbamuchembu is a lawyer. They have a legal department. They will sort it out.
They will.
But
all right.
The thing about contempt is you can either be contemptuous in the face of the court or away from the face of the court. The law cannot, the court cannot act in vain. So if you go and arrest him now, to do what?
Well,
to offer what remedy?
Well, the matter.
Is
it about offering a remedy, or is it about
the fact that
actually
the substance? That is what is called rem. The substance is the demand by the Action Alliance that they want to be listed. But, don't let me do their job for them. May Agbamuchembu will address all of this. She's a lawyer. Secondly, the point you were making about assessment. We said yesterday that the assessment will be mixed. Itodo, you quoted him. He praised him. Uriwa, Emmanuel Nwobiko, that's the name of the national coordinator, he's praising Professor Yakubu Mahmood, but some other people will not praise him.
Well, in fairness, there's this also story about, how the Beavers helped the Osun election as well. The Beavers played a very critical role during the Adeleke bringing them. On that,
I would like to praise Mahmood.
Yes, on that note.
Because what happened was, when he did the by-elections, and the Beavers worked, we celebrated the success.
We did, yes.
I think that was what even segued into what happened in Edo State. It worked in Osun, it worked in Edo State. But he was also not on his guard. Then the politicians learned how to manipulate the system.
All right.
Then they beat him at his own game. That's where he lost it.
That's all right. Well, all right. We'll follow up on the story. Now to an update on yesterday's tragic story involving the late Army officer, Lieutenant Samson Haruna, who was allegedly set ablaze by his wife during a domestic dispute. Well, a new audio recording, allegedly featuring the late lieutenant's wife, is circulating on social media, where she says her husband's death was caused by a terrible accident and not a deliberate act. Mrs. Haruna, who is said to be in police custody, in the audio recording claims her husband accidentally kicked a gallon of fuel during their altercation on September 22nd, causing it to spill. She also alleged that her husband had threatened to set her ablaze if her parents didn't come to take her home, but maintained the fire outbreak was not intentional. She also accused the late officer of previously subjecting her to domestic violence, claiming one beating led to a miscarriage, according to her, while on his hospital bed at the University of Uyo Teaching Hospital. Lieutenant Haruna allegedly begged her to visit and pleaded with authorities to drop the case, admitting the fire was accidental before he succumbed to his injuries. Nigerians on social media have expressed mixed reactions, with some demanding justice for the deceased, while others call for a fair investigation into what truly transpired that night. And that's what we're calling for here, a fair transparent investigation as to what truly transpired that night. We did see that, we did hear that audio recording allegedly featuring, and I say allegedly at this point because they say that she's in police custody. Where did she make the audio recording? But the story is just quite confusing. First of all, if you know, she said that the guy was in the storeroom and the petrol spilled, and then he was threatening her with a lighter to set that place ablaze. I mean, when did the fire start? Those are the sort of questions that Nigerians are asking on social media. We need this investigation. I thought it was important to highlight this story because we took it yesterday. We took the side of the family, the Haruna family. Now we are taking the side of the wife of the late lieutenant. Well, Mrs. Reti Haruna, did you want to say something, Ayo Rufai?
Just to say that I think this throws a light on domestic violence. Yes. From her account, we see that it didn't just start with that particular fight that unfortunately ended the life of her husband. This has happened for a long time, and then there are questions around, is there any place to seek help, or do people, men, man or woman, seek help when they are in a domestically, abusive relationship? I think that's important because this could have been cut short and we would not have escalated to this if they had already found solution when the domestic, if her claims about him beating her, in the early part was true. However, this is the importance of investigations, despite when you hear one side of the story. There's a side, the other side, and the truth. So what Nigerians want is for us to get to the bottom of the truth as to what really, happened in that household, and whoever is found guilty brought to the book. That's what we want.
I said something yesterday, yes. I was talking to Aya and Dr. Abati. I said the most important part in a conversation when people are about to come together is not about love. At some point, I'll feel good about you, I will not feel good about the person.
Yes.
The butterflies in my stomach will not be there every time. But the most important conversation should be a conflict resolution mechanism. If both of you cannot agree on how to manage conflicts, then please don't be together. Because as human beings, we will always have conflicts.
Yes.
As long as we breathe, we'll have conflicts. But if two people are coming together and they want to be together, they must think about conflict resolution mechanisms. So, for everybody going out on a date today or this night, ask that person you're on a date with, in your worst moment of anger, would you still love me and listen to me?
Yes, your spouse can make and break you.
That's
future. And this is why
violence is unacceptable.
Important to choose the right
is
partner.
Unacceptable.
You pray
and then people should seek mental health counseling.
Health counseling.
A lot of people are not okay. They are not normal.
Yes.
You see people who are dressed and all that. So there should be mental health counseling.
Absolutely.
And then families should also be involved.
Yes.
Sometimes family is the problem.
Sometimes family is the problem. You're absolutely right. Yes.
Okay.
No, I know that.
Tell
Especially we've heard so many stories about family involvement with marriages and all of that. No, you just have to keep being prayerful. Everything hopefully just comes down to understanding your spouse and loving each other when you are in a relationship. Well, I prayed for this man and his family. I pray that they get some sort of comfort. May his soul continue to rest in peace. And I hope, like I said, the investigation is speedy. Let's now take this story in Delta State, where students of the Federal University of Petroleum Resources, Ifurun, on Wednesday tripped out in protest against an alleged tuition fee hike by the institution's management. The protesters carried placards and various inscriptions condemning the purported fee increase, which allegedly raised tuition from 87,000 naira to 144,000 naira 500 for returning students and 194,000 naira 500 for final year students.
You can imprison my body, but you not go fit to capture my soul. You no go fit to kill my soul.
I mean, this is such a strange development. Meanwhile, the university management had denied authorizing any free increment. However, in a dramatic turn of events, the Senate held an emergency meeting and resolved that the 2024-2025 session has come to an end with immediate effect, directing all students to vacate halls of the residence and premises by 6 p.m. Wednesday, with warnings of disciplinary actions for non-compliance as seen in this letter shown on screen. We haven't been able to reach the Senate at this point, but it is quite unfortunate, the student union, it's quite unfortunate that this is what happens at this sort of institution. People come out to protest and then you say, go home. We need to follow up. I have placed a call and hopefully we'll follow up on that story. We'll take our good news report now. Celebrating an extraordinary story of dedication and recognition, as Borno State Governor Professor Babagana Umar Zulum presented a fully furnished 2-bedroom house to health worker Maribel Maduagwu, who hails from Anambra State. Well, Maduagwu was among 72 teachers and health workers who received housing units at a ceremony inaugurated by Governor Zulum on Tuesday in Mafa local government area. Her recognition stands out for her exceptional commitment to service even during the most difficult times in Borno State's history. While handing over the house keys, the governor said Mrs. Maduagwu had been working at the primary health center in Mafa for more than 2 decades and never left the town, even during the peak of the Boko Haram insurgency. Well, in an additional gesture of appreciation, her son, Anthony, a graduate of banking and finance, was offered automatic employment at the state-owned Kashim Ibrahim University, Maiduguri. Ms. Maduagwu described the day as the happiest day in her life.
Today is the happiest day. He gave my son job. He gave me a house. The Excellency Zulum, Babagana Zulum, have honored me, appreciated what I have been doing in Mafa, and honestly has been so good to me, helping me all round, financial, and even education. I did my BSc Health Education in Mafa with scholarship. So I'm really grateful.
Well, in October 2022, Governor Zulum similarly rewarded Mrs. Obiageli Mazi, a teacher from Abia State, with a house for her commitment and punctuality after 31 years of service in Borno State. I like what stories like this represents. Governor Zulum's consistent recognition of dedication to non-indigens sends a powerful message about the value of hard work, loyalty, and service, regardless of one's state of origin. We did take the story. I thought this was such a phenomenal story. Really good one. We love to see these sort of stories. I'd love to thank you all for your great analysis, as always, on What's Trending. My director, I'm signing out. Well, that's all I have for you guys on What's Trending today. I'll see you all tomorrow.